Yo, what's up, guys? Why not be reckless? AK Why Not Be Casting, one of the HCS commentators, analysts, and grassroots content creators, and we have another HCS report for you. Where today I'm going to be explaining pool play to you and explaining how we got here, because that qualifier was crazy. Why don't we jump right into it and explain how we got here. So when going into right before the qualifier, HCS had tweeted out how we determine how we go to pool play, and it's very similar to what we've seen in the past. You know, first place in the qualifier will take that #1 spot. Second place will take the #1 spot in pool B. Third place will take the #1 spot in pool C, and then fourth place would take the #4 spot in pool D. So very simple. If you got top 4 in your qualifier, you led a pool, and eventually you just hope you weren't in the pool of death. Going into round number 2, you have the 7th place team in North America going into pool A to join the winner of the qualifier. After that, you have the 1st place team from the EU qualifier taking that #2 spot in pool B. Then you have the 6th place team in NA taking up that 2nd spot in pool C, and eventually the 5th place team in the qualifier taking up pool D. Not bad here. Then going to pool C. Finally, we had the 8th place spot. So the final spot that was guaranteed in the qualifier that we just played would go into pool A to join whoever got the 1st place spot. Good luck. After that, whoever got 1st place as far as points. So throughout all the open series, you were accumulating points leading up until the qualifier. After the qualifier, you would also get some points, and then wherever you were would determine your final place in pool play spots. There was 2 spots given to North America. So now what that means is a lot of people think that if you were in the 9th place spot, most likely you would have kept your 9th place position, but it was not guaranteed. If you say, for example, you were in the 9th place spot leading into the qualifier and you pooped the bed, for example, you weren't able to get through. Say you got like top 24, and then maybe say, for example, the 10th and 11th place spot did really good. They got some great points. They were able to usurp you. And although all of the open series long, you played well and you did what you had to do to keep the most points to be in the 9th place spot, you still had to perform in the qualifier. It was still a very important event. So I just want to explain that real quick. Next, I'll be the #1 as far as points after the qualifier. So very similar in North America, but all in EU. And then the final spot was given to the #2 team as far as in points after the qualifier. So you had to do really good during the open series leading up to the qualifier, and then also perform in the qualifier as well, even though only the top 8 in North America was guaranteed. Notably, ANZ and the Mexico region did not have a guaranteed pool play spot. However, I believe they could still compete and earn travel coverage to make it to the open bracket, which obviously their top teams would be favorites to make it out. So still a very good chance you see some Mexican representations and some ANZ representation as well. As we've seen multiple times, they've been able to make it out, and even other EU teams as well. So don't think it's just a North American fest. You still have worldwide competition who were competing for guaranteed spots, and then obviously taking some of the top spots in the open bracket. So why don't we hop right into it and find out exactly how the qualifier went, and we're going to break things down, and we're going to start off with Shopify Rebellion 3-0ing Space Station Gaming. In case you don't know, Psycho, Frosty, World 2, and Last Shot, you have world champions on the roster. You have some young, hungry new professional players to the seed, although they've been around Halo a lot longer than you might think in Psycho and Last Shot, and it's been impressive. A lot of people were questioning the experience of Psycho and Last Shot and how they would perform when having this level of expectations. Like, we saw them play very well as underdogs last year, but now we see them as the favorites. Now we see them as teams that are kind of championship, or bust, grand finals or bust, and so far they have not busted. Going up against Space Station Gaming, Eco, Stellar, Snakebite, and Lucid. This is the team that many had as the 2nd best team in the entire world, and we're quickly finding out that they ain't starting off that hot. Although I wouldn't say a bad Space Station Gaming roster, but a Space Station Gaming roster that have left a lot of meat on the bone. You can't be eating that chicken and not get it clean. They've left a lot of meat on the bone. And although you have world champions, you have MVPs, you have a roster in Space Station Gaming, it feels like they haven't hit their stride just yet. But I will say the fact that they still look like the third best team in the world and haven't reached 100% potential, that might be some good news for the SSG fans that are out there. But SSG go down to the lower bracket where we jump on board with the other side of that bracket, and it is going to be Optic Gaming going up against FaZe. And of course, Optic Gaming are going to win this. Of course, Optic Gaming might just sweep. Of course, Optic Gaming lose in a Game 5. Bound, Renegade, Legend, and Formal, the original God squad, going down to Formal's former teammates, Penguin, Trippy, and joining them was Suppressed and Falcated. Tell me that didn't catch you by surprise. FaZe Clan, who so far during this early season, during the offseason, more for the early season, I don't think they competed that much during the offseason, but during the early season, have looked like the ultimate underdogs that we thought they were going to be. We said they would be battling for 4th place, but also with the potential to upset any roster in the league. And we said the SSGs, we said the Shopify Rebellions, we even said the Optic Gamers, and people thought I was crazy. And I said, I'm going to give FaZe definitely even more than a puncher's chance because I feel they honestly are that good. We just seen FaZe beat out an Optic Gaming 3-2, knocking Optic down into the lower bracket earlier than they have seen this entire early season of the 2025. Congratulations, FaZe, with a big win. But what do you do with it from here becomes the question as we go into our winners bracket finals, which is a little bit different than we expected. We knew Shopify Rebellion were going to be there if you've been paying attention all year long, but we also find out that FaZe are going to be joining them, and sadly, FaZe not able to get not only the win, but not a single win. End up getting swept in the winners bracket finals, but good for them because no matter what happens from here, they would be guaranteed a top 3 spot. Making it to the winners bracket finals alone guarantees you a top 3 spot no matter what. So love what I saw out of FaZe. However, like what I see at a Shopify Rebellion even more. We call them the hottest team in the league for a reason. They have been red hot. I have Shopify Rebellion 3-0 in favor of them. And that's when we jump into the lower bracket. We'll talk about FaZe a little bit later. We'll talk about Shopify Rebellion a little bit later. Right now, we're going to talk about Optical Gaming and TSM. You already know Optic. Well, let me introduce you to TSM, or reintroduce you, as you might have remembered them back in as Native Red back in Season 1. Talik, Druck, and Soul Snipe. Joining them is former Apex professional player in Cherished, and a very, very good TSM roster, but one I will admit have underperformed a bit, very similar to like a Complexity or even an SSG. We've seen TSM, Complexity, SSG ultimately look good, even at times look great, but overall their performance, whether it be scrims or whether it be tournament play, we want to see more out of them. I would say I liked TSM a little bit more than I liked what Complexity looked like, until eventually Complexity did get a 3-0 on them in one of the open series. Just too much back and forth, and I feel like maybe we want to see a little bit more consistency out of all of those squads, and that includes TSM, who get 3-0'd by Optic Gaming. Next up, we got to talk about Luminosity, which a lot of teams didn't even have Luminosity making it this far. If you're really looking for a squad that is flying way under that radar, it's Luminosity. Luminosity not only beating Triggers down, but we talked about this in their scrim results against Triggers down and against Reversal Perfy. Lots of times they were getting outslayed in the stat sheet. Both of those times they did in scrims, but somehow were able to win and win decisively within the scrim. I think it was either Triggers down or Reversal Perfy. I can't remember which one it was, where they got outslayed and won the scrim 8-4. They doubled the wins of the opposition. Now, I know Neutral Bomb tends to skew that a little bit, but I still think That's something you have to pay attention to, because a lot of times when these young and hungry teams come into the league, it feels like they could beat some of the teams in Slayer, but they're lacking in the objective department. Well, you have to win an objective in order to win a best of 5 series. And right now, Luminosity look very good in the OBJ, even against the likes of Space Station Gaming. Luminosity, Avicii, Piggy, Jackson, and Morley. One of the easily the best team that nobody's talking about right now, but we're gonna find out what they're really made of when they go to LAN. Avicii, the former Rainbow Six player, actually even got the chance to play a little bit with Jinxie, and look what he's done in the content creation world. Crazy. You got Piggy joining them, who we've talked about. Piggy, you know, I love me some Piggy. I love Piggy EX coming in, and not just because I'm fat, but because he's a fantastic player. But I do like bacon and sausage a lot, way too much. Next up is we got Action Jackson. I think that nickname has started to catch on a little bit here. Fantastic player, a grinder, a player that for some reason has had opportunities on some decent rosters, but whenever they decide to make a change onto the roster, he seems to be the odd man out consistently. Well, maybe finally he's found a home with other players who have been the odd man out on some of these rosters as well. And then Morley, who I'll say almost similar to Jackson, but he's been around the block a little bit longer. He's been on some great rosters. We've seen some great things from him, and we're going to continue to see that with Luminosity. I want this team to really stick together and really grind together, because I see a ton of potential within them as we move on to our next lower bracket matchup, which is going to bring us into Optic, who 3-0 at TSM, SSG, who I'm going to assume 3-1 Luminosity. Not sure why it says 4. But going into lower bracket semifinals, we had Optic Gaming going up against Space Station Gaming. And normally when I say these two organizations and these two teams, your expectation would be, oh, this must be a winners bracket finals match. Oh, this must be maybe even a grand finals match. Very little times you're going to sit here and say that this is going to be a match for top 4. The loser ends up getting knocked out of top 4, and sadly one had to lose, and this time it's going to be Space Station Gaming, who were able to take a win off of Optic. And I will say, as somebody who casted this series, I think it was a lot closer than even the series dictates. I think SSG really have made some huge improvements going into this qualifier and have just looked better and better. And so I said it before and I'll say it again. I think this team's going to get a real land buff. We talk about Stellar and some of the problems that he's had with online connection. We've talked about Snakebite and some of his issues. And then when we go into land, we know they're going to do their thing. I mean, what? Lucid's out in Florida right now. What the hell's in Florida? We know this team is going to perform even better on land, and I feel like the chemistry is going. I feel like everything is going up on there. You have a team of very unselfish players on this SSG roster, and I think the win condition now going forward is that someone's have to be a little bit selfish. Somebody is going to have to step up and freaking slay, because right now it feels like a lack of slay power a lot of the times, but ends up leading to a lack of speed within the team, where a lot of other teams are just able to get to where they need to be faster than SSG. I predict that with some chemistry and with the player just choosing to step up and be a little bit more selfish, so I think it's going to end up working out very well for this SSG roster. I think they will figure it out, but Optic do end up 3-1ing them, and Optic have looked so good, even against the very FaZe roster that beat them in a game 5 in the winner's side. If I remember correctly, this actually might have even been was it a reverse sweep? I think it was. I feel like FaZe were one game away from sweeping, and Optic eventually pulled off the reverse sweep. I think FaZe, if I remember correctly, FaZe definitely could have won multiple of those games that they ended up losing out on. It was a close matchup, and one that honestly FaZe almost pulled off another upset. They beat Optic once, which is great. They almost beat them again in a sweep, which is fantastic. But this is where FaZe's journey will end for now in the qualifier. But if anything, if I've learned anything from FaZe, it's what we thought is true. Sorry, what we thought is true. They really are the real deal. And a lot of people are going to be sleeping on this FaZe roster, and they better get woke real quick, because FaZe are nobody to mess with. And that brings us ultimately into our grand finals. You know them, you love them, you've seen them time and time again. We gotta talk about that grand finals where Optic sweep. To reset the bracket. But Shopify Rebellion get it done in 4 games, a gentleman's sweep, one might say. And Shopify Rebellions are your champions and taking that numbre uno spot going into Optic's house, into Arlington. Shopify Rebellion plan to march forward and give them an L in their own house. A beautiful, might I say, beautiful Arlington, Texas. Oh, I love you, Arlington. Oh my gosh. I hope I'm gonna be there. I hope HCS hires me. I really do, because I love me some Arlington. Oh my goodness. Shopify Rebellion taking that #1 spot as far as in Pool A. Optic taking the #2 spot, making it to the grand finals in Pool B. FaZe are going to be your 3rd seed and leading a pool themselves, but so will SSG, not falling out of grace too much. So the same top 4 that many would predict, kind of, you know, it's pretty much kind of what we're seeing right now. But what we didn't predict is maybe a Cloud9 taking that #5 spot. Huge for them, coming in 2nd place. Nemesis coming in as your #1 European squad, unlike what Nemesis have been doing. And I think their players definitely deserve a lot compared to what they went through under their last organization. I don't want to say their name and give them any more publicity than they already have. Let's just leave it at that. TSM come in as your #2 spot in Pool C. No real surprise there. Luminosity, I feel like definitely the surprise that you would think, because you would probably expect, you know, a lethal led triggers down, or even a Ryan-led reversal perfect, for example. But neither one of them, even a complexity, but neither one of them able to usurp Luminosity, who are your #5 seed in North America. And eventually we see triggers down, reversal perfect, and complexity eventually taking a tertiary spot in those pools. That's going to be so exciting. And then Pippa coming in Pool C. Love me some Pippa. And then obviously the last spot is taken up with who makes it out of the open bracket, obviously. But looking at these pools, you know, I will say, looking at these pools, first time looking at it, I think that we have a nice even distribution of talent. One thing I will say is this Pool C, unpredictable, because TSM have what it takes to beat out FaZe. You know, when I look across every other roster, like, okay, SSG taking #1 spot, Optic are holding the #1 spot, Shopify holding #1 spot. I want to say FaZe are holding their #1 spot, but I ain't never sleeping on TSM, because just like SSG, I feel like TSM are going to get a land buff. I'm excited to see that. I think complexity definitely can upset either one of these squads. Triggers down, don't be surprised if triggers down go at Cloud9 and don't back down for Shopify Rebellion. Honestly, I'm looking at pools right now, and I'm over here like, dude, this is getting me excited. We'll be in Arlington, Texas, what, just a month from now? Just about a month from now? I have goosebumps. I got goosebumps. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be your HCS report. Absolutely fantastic. We'll do more of a real pool breakdown on another video. Save that for a little bit later on. But for now, let me know in the comments down below how you guys feel about about all of these teams that are going into pool play. And don't forget, I'm giving one lucky subscriber some big money. One lucky subscriber that comments on this video is going to win $1. That's right. All you got to do is subscribe and comment down below, and you're going to win big money in the form of $1 whole dollar. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.